Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to CRC Credit Bureau webinar series. This is our May 2021 edition, and it is themed Developing a Digital Mindset for Business Opportunities and Growth. My name is Peggy Chukwumanwoso, and we're delighted to have you here. We look forward to spending the next 2 hours with you. Please use the chat box for your questions and your comments. We're also recording this session, and we're also live on Facebook and YouTube. There are also opportunities there to send comments, questions as well. Please permit me to introduce our host for today. He's none other than Dr. Ahmed Babatunde Popola. We call him Dr. Tunde Popola. He's a Nigerian banker, an accountant, an economist, an entrepreneur, and a business executive. He has over 30 years cumulative work experience spanning the public and private sectors of the Nigerian economy. He's been our managing director since inception. And prior to this, he was the pioneer CEO of the Abuja Enterprise Agency. Dr. Popola holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Ife. He has 2 master's degrees in banking and finance and economics from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and a PhD in finance from the Wits Business School, University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. He's an alumnus of the prestigious Lagos Business School and Wharton's Business School. He's happily married, a gentleman, no other than our Managing Director, Dr. Tunde Popola, CRC Credit Bureau. Please join me in welcoming him. Dr. Popola, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Good morning. Okay, I was trying to show my face. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Can we have your presentation on full slide?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Okay, it's not changing. Okay, this is not responding. I don't know why. Good morning, everyone. Let me bring it down and then go back to it again. It's still not responding. Okay. Yeah, I know it's not just responding. I don't know why. Okay, so it's not responding. So good morning. Let me just welcome all of us so that I don't waste your time. I don't know why the slides is not responding. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome all of us to this webinar this morning. Maybe Peggy, what you can do, if you can show it, you can then just display it for everyone to see. Well, I brought mine down. Okay, so good morning. I'm so glad to welcome each and every one of us to this session this morning. This is our 6th in the series of webinars that we've mounted since COVID, started early last year. And this is also the first time that we are doing something that is not credit or lending related. So it's a very new, direction for us this morning. And our initiative on, providing webinars was born out of CSR project. Our CSR is tied to you and credit. And the whole essence of our CSR is to just provide, opportunities to discuss financial education, credit education, financial awareness, responsible lending, responsible borrowing, and all of that. That's the whole essence of our CSR. CRC, most of us, I believe we know about CRC. We are a credit bureau licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to provide, credit reporting and credit scoring opportunities to Nigerians and to lenders and creditors generally in the Nigerian economy. We are owned by a consortium of, 11 institutions, 10 of them Nigeria foremost banks, and one of the leading risk management solution company in the world, Dun & Bradstreet. We've been around since 2008, and the next slide will show you that we have, in the course of our short span of existence, been recognized, both locally and globally for all that we are doing to provide, information to lenders. For us, part of what we have been able to do as our value proposition, which the next slide shows, is to, provide products and services that enable discernment for lenders generally to distinguish who should get loans and who should not get loans. But beyond that, we pride ourselves as having the privilege to be able to reduce information asymmetry between lenders and borrowers. In other words, the era of lending in the dark is gone in Nigeria. We, get creditors and lenders generally to have very fundamental information to be able to lend. So we have a huge repository of data that lenders, creditors generally, access to be able to lend. And that's part of what that have done as part of what the value brought to the economy is that it has, institutionalized the process of, onboarding, borrowing or onboarding credit through process that are, based on informed information. And so we support value chain, all the value chain relating to lending. First of all, from identifying the customers to lend to processing, review applications, to monitoring the loans when they are granted, and to also help in collections where such loans go into default. But beyond that is also that we enhance, KYC and HR policy. So nowadays, you want to become a director in any institution, licensed by CBN, you'll be requested to go and get your credit report and so on and so forth. So we have developed quite a lot of products and services to support lending, to support KYC, to support, everything that has to do with lending throughout the country. So overall, we have 16 products so far to date, supporting all those areas that I've talked about. So we have our credit score, we have credit report, we have our CRC Returnex, we have our prospector that can be used to profile new customers and look for customers that are, good to go for lending and all of that. But the tool I want to emphasize is the CRC mobile. For those of us who have not downloaded our CRC mobile app, I think we should do that, where we can have access through our telephone to our credit score and to our credit report. Now, the next slide will show you briefly that as at April 2021, we have about 22,000 institutions that are subscribers to our database. And our database has grown to about 45 million credit files by that April 2001. And our customers are not just, licensed or regulated entities by the central bank. In other words, we have customers beyond just microfinance banks or, commercial banks or specialized banks. We have discos, we have telcos, we have insurance companies, we have auto dealers, we have fintech companies, cooperative societies, courier services, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, all of these are, customers, multinational organizations. They are part of, customers of CRC. So our focus really is on every institution that grant credit or that sell on credit, in which case you have receivables, and you can really join CRC as a member. Now, so moving on to the next slide, let's just talk about why are we here today. Today, we want to be talking about digital mindset or digitalization. And like I said at the beginning, this is the first time we are doing something that is not related directly, that is not pointedly about credit. This is about, supporting small businesses, supporting our businesses generally on how to migrate to the new normal of digitalization, enhancing our capacity to deliver. When you have digital mindset, you are promoting new values to have new business models, to enhance new customer experience, and then to build your internal capabilities to be able to deliver more, so that in the long run you have sustainable profit and sustainable profitability. So this forum is going to be an opportunity for business leaders, for SME owners, for all of us, to have practical examples, to have deep insights into what digitalization is all about and how we can leverage on it. For those of us who are already leveraging on it, how can we deepen our understanding of what digitalization is all about? What are the tools that are available? Where can we get those tools? A lot of people have that mindset that is so expensive when we are talking of technology or we're talking of ICT. Is it really the case? So these are part of the things that our speakers today will be looking at in the next 1.5 hours or so. The next slide talks around the imperatives of digital transformation. What are the things that we can get there? I mean, it reduces operational and marketing costs. You can use that to build global brand. It can use that to drive to expand your business, because then you can make it very agile. You can, use that to get customer insights. We are in the era of big data, and a lot of organizations have a lot of data. They don't know what to do with it. Can digitalization help us to do that? We can use that to enhance overall customer experience. What more can we do to make life more meaningful for our customers in whatever trade, in whatever business that we are involved in? And of course, through that, you enhance your operational efficiency and effectiveness. Those are some of the things that we can do to maximize, digitalization if we do transform as businesses to that. And so these are part of what the benefit we think we can have from digitalization. And the, COVID-19 had forced all of us to begin to think differently. And I think quite a lot of people now know that ICT has become something that we cannot just wish away. It must just be embraced. And that's why this conversation is very important this morning. And so the next slide, talk around expected outcomes from this session. So by the end of this session today, we hope that we can able to help you to develop digital mindset for those who are not yet there. And for those who are already there, maybe to have broader perspective, and deeper insight into some other things that you can be doing to enhance digitalization so that you can have more, or you can grow your business. It's also an opportunity for us at the end of the day to show that you can see the tools that are available that are so easy and so not so costly for you to adopt, especially for SMEs. We expect that at the end of the day, after this session, you will also learn how you can leverage on digitalization or ICT to improve efficiency, to innovate, and to enhance decision making in your businesses. So these are just some of the objectives for this session, and we hope that some of these objectives will speak to you as a participant in this session, and you go away with being fulfilled, that at least some of your expectations from the session is realized. And to be able to do this successfully, we move on to the next slide that talks around our speakers today. We have assembled the best that you can think of when it comes to talking about technology or digitalization. And we could have had it better. And I want to thank all our speakers today, first of all, for accepting to be part and parcel of this engagement. Our webinars are always very attractive. As we speak now, we're almost about 300. Before we get to the end, or maybe by the time we are getting to the middle of the conversation, we'll have reached the 1,000 marks. And then we also, blast this on YouTube and other social media platforms. So we expect that there will be a lot of interest in this webinar this morning. So the speaker, the keynote speaker for today, who's also doubling as the moderator, is a known, person in Nigeria and globally when it comes to technology and consulting in technology. It's no other person than Mr. Neil Yusuf. Neil Yusuf was a former, managing partner of Accenture, and now the managing partner of Ferraki Partners since April 2019. He is a household name when it comes to technology and technology consulting in Nigeria. He's a transformational leader. He's been on this for about 29 or 30 years, and he's done quite a lot in advising C-suite executives in government and in private, in big organizations on how to navigate strategic change and create new IT initiatives. He's been involved in creation of so many infrastructures, especially in the Nigeria financial system that I'm aware of. When we talk of InterSwitch, even the CRC Credit Bureau, he was, if I can describe him as the midwife of a CRC Credit Bureau, the company that is currently hosting this webinar this morning. Other initiatives include unique tax ID number, and there are quite a lot of other initiatives. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer science and economics from the great University of Ife, and he's added quite a lot of technical certifications in project management and other IT and project management initiatives to his profile. He's so many things to so many people. I know he's a leader, and he is one of the few Nigerians that I know that has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Nei, thank you so much for accepting to be our speaker and our moderator at this event today. Now, we have two panelists, and they are juggernauts in their own right. And in no particular order, let me start with the lady first. We have Juliet here. Juliet Ehimwan is the director and the leading Google's business strategy in West Africa, the whole of West Africa. So it's not just Nigeria. She's the leader for Google in the whole of West Africa. Juliet is a household name in technology and also generally in leadership, especially being a role model for a lot of women out there. She was named by Forbes as one of the top 20 most powerful women in Africa, and also by the London Business School as one of the 30 people changing the world. She's featured in BBC Africa, on CNN, or Innovate Africa. She has over 25 years experience spanning technology, oil and gas, and new media industries across various continents, especially Europe, Africa, and Asia. Incidentally, Juliet also, had her first degree from the University of Ife, now about Federal University in computer engineering, just with like me and like myself. She's also, after that, had a degree from, Cambridge University, and she's also had some other certifications awarded to her in various other institutions in the world. She's also an author, by the way, and recently she released 30 Days of Excellence, and I think all of us should try to see how we can, have access to that book. Maybe she'll tell us about the book Bravely and how we can really get access to it, because when somebody as successful as Juliet, try to put some things down and share her experience with us, I think it's worth the while for us to be interested in what she's saying. Julius, thank you so much for being part of this event this morning, and thank you for joining us this morning as a panelist. The last but not the least is also another household name in banking, in the financial services world, and in technology. Mr. Uzoma Dozie is one of Nigerian leaders in the financial services sector. He was the last group managing director of Diamond Bank, and he is the founder of Sparkle. Sparkle is a new name that is, out there in the financial services space, enabled by technology and enabling technology to deliver financial services in retail sector using technology. While he was in Diamond Bank, he was the group managing director, and before then, he oversaw quite a lot of various sections of the bank. Uzoma holds a first degree in chemistry from University of Reading in the United Kingdom, and a master's degree from University College London. Those are very prestigious institutions in the UK, and also an MBA from Imperial College. These are reserve groups of schools. Currently, Uzoma runs angel investment and mentoring platform called Black Knights, and also he has a tech-focused television show called Tech Talks, where he interviews leading entrepreneurs and digital pioneers. So you can see that we are set for a very interesting session this morning, and we hope that you will all be part and parcel of this to listen to what they have to say to us and take away one or two things on how we can really enhance our digitalization, or how we can deepen digitalization of technology in our businesses. At this junction, once again, I want to say a big thank you to our speakers. Thank you also to all the participants. And also then now, my job is now to leave Nii to lead us in the conversation. So Nii will come on board to deliver his keynote address and then moderate the section that follow thereafter. Good morning. Nii, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Paula. And thank you for your kind words for the invitation. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, so I've been asked to speak on the topic of developing digital mindsets for business opportunities and growth. And this is quite topical given the impact of digitalization and of course, all that we witnessed last year and even before last year with the way COVID-19 forced many organizations to shut down. And it's only those who could use technology to work remotely that were able to function. So it's the right topic to be discussing. And if you look at the way the global economy has evolved over time, our great grandfathers all started off as hunter-gatherers, where their focus is really all about how they're able to gather food or how they hunt to kill animals. And then we move into the agrarian period. And the agrarian period, most people were farmers. Is that they use the old cutlass, or they use an animal to plow the land. And the focus during that period was about the assets that you have. You have hoes, you have cutlasses, you have lands, you have dogs to hunt, or you have mules or cow to plow the land. And when with the advent of steam engine, we move into the industrial age, and the focus in the industrial age moved to that of the efficiency of the business. How efficient is the business? And with the dot-com era, it became the internet. and focus was on information. Our information is being used, our data is being used. And now focus is on relationships, because we're now in the social media period. We're in the relationship or what you call the connected economy. And those focus is on the quality of relationships that you have and the strength of the relationships that you have. And so that's how the global economy has evolved, from a focus on assets to a focus on data to a focus on relationships. And underpinning all of this is really technology, whether it's steam engine or is the internet or is personal computers. The shift and advancement in technology have always led to new industrial periods, and they've led to a high level of industrialization. And so, we talk about the first industrial revolution, the second, and now people are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And so as you move from mechanical to electrical to the internet, and the fourth revolution, we're now in the digital, and digital is all about social media, mobile phones, cloud, machine learning, Internet of Things, biometrics, all those technology that Juliet and her colleagues in Google are very familiar with. And those technology are the foundation, the enablers of the fourth industrial revolution, which is really all around digits and about empowering people. So if you move to the next slide, and so you said that across all the revolutions, it's always been driven by changes in technology. And for us, it's important to realize that these changes are happening, whether we like it or not, whether we want to be part of it or not, these changes are happening. And so what will be useful is to be part of it. All right, so if you look at e-commerce, in the past, you have to go to CRC or to Dugbe Market. But today, you order stuff from Jumia, you order stuff from China through Alibaba, or you order stuff from Amazon. Then you have, okay, lost me for a while. I hope I'm back now. So the digital economy, you have companies, you have digital companies in payment and lending, you have in human development. So you have Zoom, which is what we're using now, which organizations use for learning, they use for communicating. You have Moodle, which a number of schools are using for educational purposes. In the area of mobility, we're all familiar with GoCada or with Uber, and with both. We're all familiar with mobility, Uber, Bolt, GoCada. And then, of course, in the home rental, you have Airbnb. Airbnb has more rooms available than most hotel chains. And we have our own Iroko TV in terms of content on demand. And so the digital economy is here. And the question for you and I is, how do I want to be part of this? How do I want to benefit from this? Next slide. And to benefit from this, there's certain changes that you need to put in place. The other thing is, if you also look at the Nigerian economy, we are 206 million persons. And as of February, we had more than 148.5, roughly 150 million internet users. That's like almost 2/3 of us are on the internet. So that's a significant market. And of course, we have 102.7. So we have about 196 phone subscriptions. So which is roughly that everybody now has a phone, sort of. And so in terms of telephone density, it's 102.7. For every 100 persons, you have 102.7 phones. And statistics suggest that by March next year, the Nigerian e-commerce market, so by March 2025, the Nigerian e-commerce market will be about $75 billion. That would be like 2.5 times the current size of the federal government's budget. So that is a significant market in all dimensions. And we do have Nigerian companies that are playing actively in this digital economy. And many of them are new companies formed in the last 10 years or thereabouts. And so it shows that there are activities here. And again, like I said, the challenge is how would you and I be part of this? Next slide. And Nigeria by 2050 will be the third largest country by virtue of population. By 2050, we'll have more than 400 million persons living in Nigeria. So it's only India and China that will have more population than us. So that's a big economy. And a way to serve the economy effectively will be using technology. So if in running a business, there are 5 forces of growth, 5 forces that can lead to growth in running a business. First is capital. Second is labor. You have entrepreneurship, you have customer, and you have technology. And all these 5 factors are impacted by technology. Right. So companies like Sparkle, companies like Carbon are making capital available to entrepreneurs. And if you look at labor, you can use technology in terms of the way you work, in terms of improving your productivity. And of course, our customers, technology can be used to engage with customers and to delight customers and to improve the customer experience in terms of the user interface. And technology can be used to scale. And so the 5 factors or the 5 forces of growth, and these 5 factors are factors that if each company utilizes them well, the company will grow. So it's capital, labor, technology, customer, and entrepreneurship. And all 5 factors are in many ways influenced by technology. And so again, if you move to the next slide, technology we've seen is a key driver of growth. And if you look at the 10 basic needs of individuals, if you look at the 10 basic needs of individuals, so if you take Nigerians, for instance, an average Nigerian spends 66% of his income on 3 things: accommodation, food, and clothing. The average Nigerian spends 66% of his income on accommodation, food, and clothing. And by the time you had health and education and transportation, that is getting to like about 86 to 87% of household income. And so technology today is also impacting these 10 basic needs. And the average Nigerian, of our 206 million Nigerians, every day you eat food, every day you wear clothing, you take paracetamol, you sleep, you sleep under a roof, even if it's under the bridge, it's still shelter. You spend on education, you spend on communication, we all spend on data and voice, entertainment, transportation, water supply, and for those who are a bit high up in the Maslow hierarchy, they also begin to spend on security. And so these are the 10 basic needs, and technology is impacting these 10 basic needs across their various value chain. So if you take something as simple as agriculture, you now use drone to map the land, you use drone to plant, you use a site like Farm Crowdy, which is crowdfunding, to raise funds to support your agricultural business. And of course, you use technology in processing, in food processing, in marketing, distribution, etc. And so whether you are a thinker, those are the 4 types of jobs, whether you're a thinker or you are a builder or a producer, all 4 types of jobs use technology to make things better. And so digital is disrupting the way we work and the way we live. Next slide, please. And and those disruption, it's leading to innovation and leading to new things. And so we all should first make sure we do not underestimate the impact of technology. You know, there are a few quotes that in 1943, the president of IBM, which is a big technology company, was quoted as saying, perhaps we would only more than 5 computers in the world. Today, every cell phone, every smartphone is a huge computer. My phone has more processing capacity than the computer I used while I was in Ife. Ken Olsen, the founder of DEC, it's a computer company in US that was finally acquired by Compaq, and Compaq acquired by HP. Ken said he sees no reason why anyone want a computer in their home. But today we all carry computers in our pockets. And so that's to show how computers have evolved, become more powerful, and they become an everyday part of our life. Whether it's in agriculture, it's in clothing, it's in entertainment, in communication, technology has become an everyday part of our life. And so my hope is that those of us listening to this, we will not underestimate how technology can shape the way we work or can shape the things that we do. Next slide, please. And just to remind us of how technology has shaped the way we work. Just to remind us of how technology has shaped the way we work. Right. In the past, we had post offices, and the post offices were challenged by courier services. And courier services in itself challenged by fax, the days of facsimile. And fax in itself was challenged and disrupted by email. And email is now being challenged by instant messaging. And so the evolution of technology continues to disrupt and lead to newer ways of doing things, newer, cheaper, better ways of doing things. We used to have the VCR machines, then we had DVD. Now, all we do is streaming. And you go to Facebook or YouTube or Netflix, And so the way you consume content has changed. In banking, you go to the branch in the past. Now you do it on your ATM, on your web, on your mobile phone, on your app. You use cash, but now you use card or you use mobile. And so, next slide, please. And so we'll see that even in our daily life, technology is disrupting what we do. And it's happening to businesses. It's also happening to consumers. And anytime there's a disruption, anytime there are crises, it presents opportunities for those who are discerning, who can see through the crowd. And so in 2008, we had a mortgage crisis that happened from US and that became a global crisis. And it's during that same global crisis, during that same period of global crisis, that companies like Uber, companies like Airbnb, Instagram, even WhatsApp, was during the crisis of 2008 that all these companies were formed. And so I will argue that some great companies are being birthed today during this pandemic crisis, and we will get to know them in 5, 10 years time. Next slide. And so the question is, how can you benefit from this? So I haven't painted the importance of digitalization and how it has almost become inevitable. Because now we've seen how digitalization is affecting the way we live, the way we work, and now it's already impacting many of the businesses that we know. I'll now so the question is, how can you and I be a part of it? Since we've kind of accepted that it's an inevitability that will happen. And to be a part of this, a big thing you need to do is to change your mindset. And you need to begin to have what is called a digital mindset, which is actually the topic of this session. And so digital mindset is a mindset that is curious, that seeks to know more about why things happen. And it's a mindset that always asks the question, why? Why this? Why is it like this? Why is it arranged this way? Why can't it be arranged in a different manner? That's a digital mindset. A digital mindset is also a mindset that thinks in exponential form. You talk about geometric progression or arithmetic progression. A digital mindset thinks in geometric progression, that this can scale, this can go 10 times, 20 times. And a digital mindset is persistent. I think it was Thomas Edison that tried more than 1,000 times before inventing the electric bulb, the translucent bulb. And he said, I've learned 1,000 ways not to do it. And so a digital mindset, a technology mindset will always be persistent, will be inclusive, and will be accountable. And for you and I to have that kind of a mindset that it's open to digital, there are 5 steps we need to take. The first is to always be ready to challenge our core beliefs, to challenge the things we hold true, and to reframe the perspectives, in terms of challenging things. So prior to COVID, one will argue that public schools in Nigeria will not use technology. But in the last 1 year, we've seen even public schools moving to using technology. Prior to COVID, you will argue that government, the federal government or the state government would not use technology for meetings and that they would rather travel to Abuja and Co. But now we know that meetings can be held virtually. And so COVID has been one great accelerator of digitalization. But if we didn't have COVID, how could we, reframe our mind, reframe our perspectives to be able to accept the ways technology can change things? The second is for our leadership to embrace digital and be comfortable with digital. And third is to also change the way our brain thinks, right? And I mean, the best way I can explain it is the brain should be trained to look at different perspectives, at multiple perspectives, instead of just focusing on one thing and only one thing at a time. If you move to the next slide, and then the fifth step is really about experiential learning, which is learning by testing, learning by doing, learning by trying, as opposed to theoretical. You get your hands dirty, you try, you pilot, you do what they call MVP, minimum viable products. And with those small steps, every step is progress along the way. If you move to the next slide, please. Right. And so the characteristics of that digital mindset is, one, you need to, well, we all need to, let me say you, we all need to first is understand the power of technology and what technology can do. And the various examples I've shared is for us to gain a better understanding. So understand the power of technology, then be willing to adopt and to embrace technology, especially in critical areas of your operations. Be willing to adopt technology in critical areas of your operation. Don't just do it in the administration or in the admin area. Do it in, put technology into finance, put it into core operations, put it into HR, put it into marketing, into different areas of your businesses. And you need to adapt. In the technology world, it's about agility, it's about speed, it's about flexibility. You need to adapt to the requirements of that changing space. And you need to understand that in the digital world, you are part of an ecosystem. No man is an island. You are part of an ecosystem of suppliers, producers, multiple agents working together. Be ready to have an open mind. Be ready to think positively. Be ready to turn the fear of failure into how you can be more curious. Learn how to collaborate with others. Learn more. Every day you learn, and then seek to collaborate with others. Embrace change and diversity. And diversity is important. We all should not think the same way. So you need to have diversity, either gender, race, age, social status, have different forms of diversity within the business, and you should be willing to embrace that. And lastly, learn to experiment in small bits, so that if it's not working, you can quickly drop it and test something else. And so successful digitalization will require this elements of these 10 characteristics for you to be able to have a digital mindset, a mindset that thinks positively, that it's open-minded to new ideas, that is willing to understand the importance of technology, and of course, ready to embrace technology. Next slide. And in embracing technology, you're willing to test, fail fast, and fail quickly. And so in closing, digital mindsets requires that we reframe the way we think about things. And so one of it is to have a growth perspective, a growth mindset, a mindset that sees difficulties as lessons, that sees problems as opportunities, and a mindset that instead of saying I don't know, will seek to find out more. A mindset that sees criticisms as feedback. And part of that reframing is to, one, understand that success will not come by accident. Success will only come by deliberate steps, actions, and activities that you take. And to be successful in the digital world will require you embracing technology, using technology in critical areas of your operations, and being willing to be open-minded, positive thinking, etc. Practice also leads to perfection, so you must continue until you attain success. So it's about persistence, it's about grit. And don't take no for an answer. No does not mean stop. No may mean not now, not yet, not here. And so once you understand that no doesn't mean stop, no may just mean that not now, we'll continue to make progress along the way. We also should understand that nothing is impossible for a determined mind. And lastly, we must deploy the genius of the and concept. The and concept is a concept that will allow us not to make a false choice between A and B. You can be big and be nimble. You can provide high quality service and still be affordable. You can deliver quality and still move fast, right? And so don't sacrifice quality for speed, quality for cost, etc. The AND concept teaches us to combine both. And so really, to my mind, with technology, you stand a chance of succeeding. And without technology, you stand no chance at all. So entrepreneurs and businesses that want to survive and thrive in the 21st century have little or no choice but to embrace technology across different sectors of the organizations. Thank you. So I think that ends the session on presentation, and should now go into the conversations. So let me formally welcome the two panelists and Juliet, and thank you for joining us. Let me start, and I hope Juliet and Uzoma are ready.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here.
Good morning, Juliet. Nice to see you. All right, so let me give you the honor of starting with you, really. So I've shared a few examples, global and local, about how technology is driving business. But let me ask you, what have you seen in the last 12 months or in the last 18 months of how technology is providing significant business opportunities for growth for SMEs in Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Nii. Once again, hello, everyone. It's always great to converge and just really explore the opportunities that digital provides. One of the things I think we can all agree to is the fact that business continuity in the SME space has been largely driven by technology in the last year. There is no denying the fact that that's how we've all remained connected and how we've been able to keep things going. Now, in talking about the examples we've seen locally, I really want to also stress some of the growth examples, because it's one thing to say, yes, this is the digital age, it's important to embrace technology, etc. But beyond that, there is a real business advantage that can be had. And we're seeing companies grow and attract, foreign direct investments based on the innovation with which they've been able to run their business with the power of digital. So I'll be sharing some of those examples. And there are 5 categories that I'll touch on very briefly. So the first is just, online stores and online services. The third would be flexible work environments, payment systems, and then sharing and collaboration and talent sourcing as part of that. From the perspective of online stores and services, we've seen a huge trend in the last 12 months and slightly longer of SMEs just really, rather than investing so much in expanding, either creating front shops, physical stores if they didn't have one before, or expanding existing shops, to actually looking at building that infrastructure online, right? With digital platforms, you can create an entire store, display your products and services. And we've seen different types of businesses take advantage of that. From fitness instruction, we've seen a lot of fitness instructors leverage online for fitness instructional sessions. We've seen a lot of organizations leveraging home delivery options and making sure that there is a very robust online shop for people to access their products and services, because one of the changes that has been observed very clearly with user behavior is that people are going online for a variety of products and services. In the e-commerce space, we had some leading players like Jumia and Konga within this environment, but a lot of major retail outlets have also gone online, like ShopRite, Grand Square, Just Right, Slot, and a number of many SMEs that are leveraging online platforms to expose and showcase their products and services to users. One of the success stories I'll call out in this space is a startup called Trade Depot that just really, they're playing in the e-commerce space and introduced an online business-to-business end-to-end distribution platform that's aimed at connecting the world's top consumer goods companies directly to retailers in Africa. Now, one of the beauties about digital is it just helps you to smash boundaries, right? And that can just really help your business to scale significantly. This company, Trade Depot, raised $10 million in a pre-series B equity round in July 2020. So this innovation has really directly impacted their business growth. Another bucket is flexible work environments. A lot of us have also had to deal with the reality of not being able to get people together physically the way we did in the past. However, we've seen a lot of organizations use technology tools to remain connected and to remain functional. So working from home, working remotely, etc. Now, that provides a lot of benefits. One is the fact that you cut out traffic, which many people have observed. But also, even in the office space, now you don't have to, you can really build your model around this flexible working, so that rather than having, fixed desks, for example, where you have to account for every person that works in the organization in planning your space, you can actually look at hot desks and, if maybe a shift or flexible working arrangement, so that you have a certain pool of people in the physical space at a time, and limit the amount of physical infrastructure that you have to invest in. But also, from that perspective as well, talent sourcing does not now have to be limited to your immediate environment, right? One of the beauties that we've seen with this is just the fact that there is an opportunity for an increased opportunity around, collaboration and access to resources. So there's nothing stopping you from accessing talent from anywhere in the world, especially if they don't have to physically move, because that would usually be the barrier, right? And even organizations locally, there is no reason why you can't expose your services to people around the world. If I take a very simple example, I talked about fitness instructions earlier. If you're a fitness instructor offering online services, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter where your clientele is based. Normally, you would try to get clients within your geographical area because you have to travel to them. But if you're offering it online, you can be in Lagos, and if you're good at what you do, you can be offering that service to someone in London, or anywhere in the world. So that also expands the business possibilities that are available to you. I've seen the same thing in the e-learning space. I've seen examples of small, medium businesses that run maybe tutorial centers actually create communication around, offering their services beyond Nigeria. And, a friend of mine in the US actually got a maths tutor for his son from Nigeria, just based on that, right? And if you think about it, yes, once the talent is available, there's nothing, the geographical constraints, once they're gone, you can actually operate, you can service clients anywhere in the world and really expand your business. Because one reality with today is the fact that organizations are looking at how to reduce costs, right? Because there's been the initial shock with the pandemic, resulted in a lot of, in some cases, revenue losses, etc. So just looking at expanding your revenue opportunities is a reality for today. So anything that can actually create those new models, those new customer segments and insights, those are things that should really be welcome. Another example in this space, Kuda Bank, really took full advantage of this practice last year and developed a full banking service on a smartphone with minimal physical and office infrastructure. And, they kicked off quite well and were able to secure a $10 million funding round, a seed funding round in November last year. And that's the biggest seed round ever to be raised in Africa. So when we're talking about this, it's not so much the fact that, okay, we have to deal with digital now. It's an enemy, but we have to embrace it. No, digital is your friend. It's actually your lifeline right now. And it can be a strong differentiator and a strong contributor to business growth. Just very quickly, sharing and collaboration. The reality is no business is an island. And it doesn't need to be. There are so many like-minded organizations. There are complementary services being offered that you can collaborate with or partner with to just really help you either get to market faster or scale faster, right? And we're seeing SMEs within the environment take advantage of this. One example I'll share is Kobo 360. Some of you or many of you would be familiar with them. It's a technology company that aggregates end-to-end haulage operations. They developed a chatbot for potential clients to discuss services that could improve their experience with the platform. And based on that, they were able to launch certain products in market. And this also led them to raising more capital for expansion across Africa over the last 12 months. So we're really seeing some tangible, real benefits around these. Payment systems was the last one I mentioned. We're seeing a lot of SMBs using, payments and transactional systems to ensure that they're fully functional online. And a lot of these payment organizations and themselves count as SMEs, and they're really riding on the wave around the fact that, most people are, have a mobile phone. This is a mobile-first market. A lot of people are having their internet experience via mobile. So if you have mobile-based solutions, you can really reach a lot of people. And we've seen some great success stories. One that I'll call out is Flutterwave, which in March this year actually raised $170 million investment, right? And it's 5 years old, but it's already more valuable than some of Nigeria's biggest banks, right? Just based on the huge opportunity within the fintech sector. So the list goes on and on, but I just wanted to call out some of these practical examples to show real benefits and growth.
Thank you, Juliet. That has been very interesting and very practical. And like you said, digital is your friend. I like that. Don't see it as an enemy. And you could use digital to create new business models. You could use digital to innovate from a service point of view or from a product point of view. And of course, when you do all of that, it helps in fundraising. So you've mentioned Flutterwave on $70 million. You've mentioned Kuda, $10 million in Series A. And these are companies formed by Nigerians in Nigeria. I think it's important to underscore that these are companies formed by you and I in Lagos, on the streets of Lagos, and that are use digital to really transform their companies and their experience. So thank you. Let me move to Uzoma. And Juliet has explained different areas where she has seen companies use technology. So my question to Uzoma would be, if I'm going to start up as an MSME, as an entrepreneur, I want to become more digital focused, which areas of the business should I consider starting from? Where have you seen the most opportunities for SMEs to start using digital?
I like to look at these things from an endpoint. What are you trying to achieve? And everything is about customer experience. What services are you providing, and how can I provide those services? From a business perspective, what with my customer segment, what am I trying to deliver? What is the context in which I'm delivering? When I say context, is if you're in Lagos, the context is different from if you've got digital infrastructure, and also it's different from if you're in my village one of my villages in Imo State. You're going to have that infrastructure is not going to be there. So that context is very, very key. And I think the second thing is about your operation. How do you want to operate? What kind of risk? How do you want to operate? That operation is also going to define whether you're going to have labor intensive, or you're going to actually leverage on technology to reduce operational risk and reduce your cost. And so and then of course, how do you create awareness? Are you going to go to the newspapers? Are you going to do the newspapers? Are you going to go use? Are you going to go to Instagram, or are you going to use people like Google? When Spark was started, the awareness was created using Google. Now, the thing about I hate talking about digital for digital's sake. It is like from a customer experience perspective, I want to reach my customers. I want to reach many customers in a cost-effective manner. Secondly, let me just put it in three buckets. I want to be paperless, I want to be cashless, I want to be contactless, because those things make me more mobile and agile. Secondly, and the most important thing about digital, as far as I'm concerned, is data. It allows me to collect information, collect data, which I can turn into information, which can give me insights on one, who my customers are, what am I doing with my customers, where are my customers, who are my best customers, and then from my operational perspective, it reduces my cost of doing operation. It reduces the risk and reliability on human beings, especially those things that are just processing. And in things like a lockdown, this is where before the big was cash was king, but now cashless is king, because during the lockdown, so it wasn't just the COVID, it was the lockdown. So you couldn't move cash anywhere, physical cash. You couldn't move paper anywhere. You couldn't touch anything because we were scared of transmission of the virus. We didn't know exactly what it was. So for me, you look at it I look at digital as in, if I want to access customers, get information, get insight, every part of my brain, I have to start from like you said in your presentation, a pure digital mindset. I'm going to be paperless, so that I don't have any paper, so that I can have my information on my PC wherever I am. I can be independent, and we can be free to do what we want to do. to do. I don't want any I don't want any cash in my business, because cash in my business means that I don't know. And I'll tell you a simple story. My children, when my children were much younger and they were in school, I gave them a debit card, and they were in the UK. So every time they made a payment with their made payment, I saw what they paid for. I saw that they were in McDonald's eating hamburgers. I saw they were in a shop, or I saw that they paid for a train ticket. Every time they went to an ATM to collect cash, I immediately called them and said, "Why are you collecting cash?" Because for me, it meant that by the time when you collect cash, I don't know what you're going to do with that cash. And so those are the things about cash and paper. When paper is there, you don't know what that paper is going to do for a business. And then if you are, as Juliet has also said, because digital is actually the only way now. So if I was raising money, for example, today, or if I wanted to invest in a business, or I wanted to lend money to a business, I want not only your financial data, but your non-financial data. That allows me to actually understand your business better, have more certainty, which would now mean that I could raise money cheaper, because you have reduced the risk. So that is what digital does for you as well. From that perspective, it will reduce the risk of doing business. It will reduce the cost of funding and doing your business. So, but the answer to your question is that what area of your business would you want to start off with if you're a small business? Every single part of it. And the good thing about it is that digital is now a commodity, practically, because as you said, you have a mobile phone, and your mobile phone is a big, massive computer that will allow you to even convert your paper to even paperless. So, like, for example, practically, every time somebody gives me a document, I scan it on my phone and I save it. I don't carry paper anywhere. I don't carry cash, because those things actually are operational risk and hazards. So, my advice to small businesses is that start with that digital mindset from the onset, and it is very cost effective. And if I want to go from point A to point B today, I check Google first, so that I find the fastest and safest route to get there. So digital is everywhere. And if you're in a place like Lagos, then the opportunity is much bigger, because the infrastructure and the context is much better for digital.
All right, thanks. I like the way you put it. It's starts with your objectives, whether you want to be cashless, contactless, paperless, but also understanding that the context is important. I mean, your location is important, the resources you have is important, the assets you have is important, etc. And part of the context is, of course, is also the culture of your organization. So if I could ask you another question around the kind of cultural traits or cultural attributes that you see that are needed for SMEs to succeed in terms of digital transformation. And it has given you experience working with a big bank and now working with a startup, right? Wearing ties and no longer wearing ties, right? So what other cultural attributes do you see?
Well, the truth of the matter is that people are the biggest obstacles to digital. And so, a simple analogy, digital, technology there's always been resistance to change from technology. And I remember when I started driving, it was manual. I was driving a manual car, manual stick. There was no power steering. And so, for us then, that's like if I said I was a driver meant I knew how to drive a manual car. Then, automatic cars came. Automatic transmission, and there was a resistance to it, because from a driver's perspective, it was that you don't know how to drive. And so, like, for them, they like that clutch. It was like just a rite of passage. And so beyond, my banker colleagues, I've always thought that the idea of wearing a tie in a country that is in the tropics, in a country where you have 90% of your customers do not wear ties, and you wear ties, doesn't make sense. First of all, the cost of buying a suit, keeping and maintaining it for 1,500 stripes is completely ridiculous. And then there is that dichotomy that you create, because you have people that wear the best suits and everything. And when I became MD of Diamond Bank, I said, you know what, our national clothing is going to be t-shirts, Diamond Bank t-shirts and jeans, because it means that everybody from the top to the bottom can wear it. So there's that whole unity, and that's part of that culture. That culture is important in saying, we have this. We have the same vision, same culture, and we actually look at, like, the whole idea of leveraging digital is democratization of services that were unavailable to people and scaling it. Now, if you're just going digital for digital sake and you don't take advantage of it, then there's absolutely no point. But that culture of continuous change is part of digital, because every day new things are coming up, and it is that mindset to keep saying, okay, how can I use technology to create the best customer experience? How can I use the technology to make it easier for my people to work? And how can I make sure that the people I employ, the culture and the values are aligned to that aspiration? And so at Sparkle, so like actually the three biggest, and we have about 7 values, but the 3 big ones I talk about is one, freedom. And that freedom is very key. Freedom from how do you want to work? Where do you want to work? If you come to Sparkle Place, you'll find that nobody has a desk. Everybody has desk. It's not even an office. It's an open space place where people can work freely, and they can also choose to work remotely or in the office. But we believe that growing culture means that sometimes you have to actually socialize together. So, like, we start the week together, we end the week together. So Monday and Friday, we're in the office together. But key thing is that people are very, very important, because in the end we're all 7 people. And so first of all, you must understand your customer segment, and then you must align your culture and your values towards that. And using technology also helps drive that, because you can still be a massive company today, but also be small. And when I say small, being able to reach every single person in that organization through the technology that you have, being able to even say happy birthday to anybody, because you have that data that says it is Uzama's birthday today. Why don't you wish him happy birthday? Those are the things that really enhance the culture and keep things small, even though you're expanding much larger.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So it's interesting. You said a culture of curiosity, a culture of continuous change is required. But before that, your first statement was a tough one. So people are the biggest obstacles to digital. And so let me ask Juliet, if people are the biggest obstacle to digital, how can a Nigerian business, a local business, in a country where half of us are not literate, where not all of us have smartphones, where there's financial exclusion, there's digital exclusion, right? So how can a local company that wants to transform its business be mindful that people are the biggest obstacle, people being both staff and customers? And so how can they transform and not lose their customers and not lose their staff?
Thank you. So that's a good question, and it's important for organizations to think about that, because in this environment in particular, there's still a lot of education and awareness building that needs to happen. And that is happening. We've seen a growth in number of users in Nigeria, for example, and across Africa coming online. And the length of time that is spent online, the adoption of services. But not everybody has joined the boat yet. And we can't pretend that everyone is fully digital and will be able to leverage our services in that way. So I think it's important for organizations, first of all, to just understand your customer segments and understand their behaviors. So in crafting your strategy, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but just really look at your various segments that you really want to go after, where you have your primary business, and what their behaviors and unique needs are. And then based on what those segments are, you might need to look at omni channels. You might need to look at a hybrid approach. So a situation where you combine online and offline, and leverage the strengths and the benefits of both. Use your online business to complement your offline business and vice versa, right? So create like omni-channel customer interactions. So for example, you can have the possibility for people to access and use your services online completely, 100%. But you may also, depending on your type of business, like I said, this is not a one size fits all. Depending on your type of business and also your the type of consumer segments you're going after, you can also have an offline service. But also at the back of your mind, I would say part of that strategy should be trying to move your offline customers online as much as possible. So even if I take airlines as an example, right, and you have a customer center where people can come and book flights, you can have a self-service portal that people can use when they come, but with your agents walking them through it, right? So that in a way, you are also helping to educate your customer base, and you are able to move a certain percentage of your customers more and more to be able to just use the online service from wherever they are. So to just think about it from along those lines. And also, there are a number of initiatives. We at the moment, we've been, since 2017, we pledged to train 10 million Africans for free with digital skills. So we're offering free digital skills training. And there are a number of organizations that are doing different things to help build digital capacity in the environment. So it is changing and will continue to improve. But I think for now, it's good to, based on your customer segments, to think about omni-channel, so a hybrid approach. The other thing is to optimize for mobile. We've said already the fact that most people live through their phones nowadays, and most people have their entire digital experience through their mobile phones. And so that is one channel that if you're looking at reaching critical mass, you have a stronger likelihood of achieving that if you optimize for mobile. And there are certain best practices to bear in mind when you're building for mobile, to just make sure that people have to fill in fewer things. The speed of loading is fast. Your site or app is light because people don't have data. People usually try to economize their data. So you don't want to have an app that consumes so much data, because that would scare your users. So there are those types of best practices to bear in mind, to just make sure that it's an easy enough experience for your users.
Thanks, Julia. That's very interesting. Start by knowing your customers and know their behaviors. And so if your customers don't use a lot of data, make sure your app is light. If your customers are on mobile, then you also you'll be mobile. But let me ask, is there a possibility that a company can move too fast and want to digitalize too fast? Is that anything? Is that such a concept as we want to embrace technology?
So I don't think. I think there are stages, and I think just like with anything, you don't run before you walk, right? So there are things to bear in mind. I wouldn't really say so much about moving too fast in the digitization process itself. But, the reality is you can't evolve more than the available technology, that is in the space, unless you're into tech research and innovation. But within organizations, just like every transformation process, you need a roadmap for successful transition. Human beings need time to change their mindsets, just like with everything, just like your computers even and machines need to be upgraded. And, failure to develop that roadmap that is based on an understanding of all stakeholders, and that is, your employees, the internal stakeholders, your board, regulators, customers, partners, right? The entire stakeholder group. That can create certain risks to the business, right? So, like cybersecurity risks, loss of customers, maybe higher operating costs if things are not done properly, loss of revenue, etc. So I think, if you bear that in mind, then I would say, okay, yes, but it's really, most of the time it comes from poor planning and not necessarily rapid evolution. Because if you plan properly and take stakeholder management into account and all that, and then you move at a speed, that's usually fine. But when there's poor planning, you can actually plan poorly and move very slowly and still, run into problems. So I think the key there is to just make sure that you create a very clear roadmap, an informed roadmap that makes sure that really looks at different options and the best option for your type of business.
Excellent.
Just to add to what Juliet said, I think, like moving fast depends on also your stakeholders. So, especially if you're in financial services, your regulator, you can have this great idea, the great technology, but if the regulator is not ready, well informed, then it's going to be very difficult to get approval. Even if your customers as well, because trust is very, very important. I think that's where education comes in. If you have this great technology that will help the customers, but they don't appreciate or understand it, and you have created something that will work, but in the end, I think they say that the person that invented electricity is not the person that made money from it, because you need a business case, a use case, like for that to work. So we just have to be aware and understand and make sure that all the stakeholders, who your stakeholders are, know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what the benefits are going to be successful. So that's that planning.
Right. Which I think, those critical stakeholders, I think goes back to your earlier comments, Zoma, around understanding your context, right? So if part of the context is your customers, your regulators, like Juliet said, part of it is even the technology. Is the technology ready? Is technology proven? Is technology affordable, right? And so anyone that wants to go into digitalization must reflect on the context, must reflect on the stakeholders, and the stakeholders are diverse: internal, external, clients, staff, suppliers, regulators, etc. And make sure you have different use cases, like Uzoma said, that influence the roadmap. And that roadmap is what would then allow you to successfully digitalize. So, Uzoma, you are into banking, and Juliet had mentioned examples of companies that have used digital to raise funds, which is equity. But let me talk to you. Let me ask you a few questions around using digital to take a loan, which is credit, as opposed to equity. So what must SMEs do in terms of using digital to improve their opportunity to access credit? Uzoma.
I think the most important thing is information. I need to take a decision on whether to give you a loan or not. Ideally, I actually want to get the information myself. I actually don't want to ask you. So typically today, if you go to a bank, the bank gives you a list of things to actually bring to them. And so they actually list of things to bring to them, and then they now assess it based on that information. But ideally, the beauty about digital is that you want to be able to see their records. You want to be able to use algorithms if you want to analyze it. And you also want a diverse set of records. Today, most banks, whether they're fintech or traditional banks, use one type of information to determine credit, and that's their financial information, which is your ability to pay. Now, another factor for credit is also your willingness to pay. And you can find this data, you only can find this data in non-financial data. I can have the money, but I don't pay. We've seen many instances where you have people that owe money, they have sources of funds elsewhere, but they don't want to pay because that source of where they were supposed to get repayments from is not there. And they don't want to convert some assets to make that payment. And that's your willingness to pay, which you cannot find in any financial data. Now, the beauty about so that's why the beauty about digital now is that, and I think the beauty about being able to say, okay, these are your financial records. I want to see your non-financial. I want access. You need to give me access to your non-financial record so I can make an informed decision. Now, the more information that I have about you, right, it will help me make a better decision, and that better decision will bring down pricing. Now at Sparkle, when we, like our ethos is that when we do start lending at the end of this year, we want to be lending to small businesses at a price that I would lend to a big corporate organization. And that is because you would have been digital, I would have had access, you are giving me access to not only your financial record I would have access to, and you don't have to give it to me, because once you give me information, it means it can be manipulated. But if I can access it myself, it is more trustworthy. If I can also access non-financial data about you that give me an idea of your character, I am now taking two sets of records to create a better picture of you. And a better picture of you means that I can lend to you at a rate that's actually affordable. And if I'm lending to you at a rate that is affordable, you want to maintain that pricing. And that means that you continue to do. So like Spark, we want to reward you for doing the right thing. So for me, basically, information is very, very key. And for you to give me information, your business must be structured in a way that you have access to that information at your fingertips, which is key. But other investors or people who want to provide financial resources to you can also get that access and see it without any fear of manipulation.
That is interesting. So Sparkle will start lending by the end of this year. And so our participants are please encouraged to note that. And part of what Sparkle will be looking for is it's your financial and non-financial data, how readily available are these, and not just available for you as the entrepreneur, but also available for the lender to be able to access directly and to come to conclusions around your ability to pay and your willingness to pay. It's interesting. We have about 41 million MSMEs, according to the statistics. We have well over 75 million bank accounts. So we can argue that maybe all the MSMEs have bank accounts. But we have just about 21 million credit customers, which effectively means that about half of the MSMEs are not credit customers, right? So beyond the data access, what more should an MSME do to be credit worthy, to be able to take a loan, for instance?
So, my view too is, the second view is that financial services are not actually doing, they're not mining their data, because really and truly, in journalism, they say that you have to go and look for a good story. So a story never actually comes to you. A good story never comes to your plate. So as a provider of financial services, I actually have to look for good credit. Now, part of what Sparkle is going to be doing is not waiting for people to request credit, but us actually looking at it's us actually mining our data, our customer data, and saying, listen, this is the kind of work you're doing. You have access to this credit, to this facility at this particular time. I think if that is done, you will see there will be more proactivity. There will be more lending in that space for small businesses. And what we have done at Sparkle is, and just based on what everybody has been saying today, we said, okay, for small businesses, what do they need? You need to be mobile. You need to be able to carry your business in your pocket. And it's not just about access to financial services, but access to those support services that drive your business. So if we want to help you with your business, we have to create a platform that helps you manage your inventory, your invoicing, and also your staff and your payroll. So all that is in Sparkle Business. All that, so it's not just a bank account. So unlike other banks, it's actually your business in your pocket, and that helps us and helps you understand what your data is, understands what how you're allocating your resources. And for that, we're also beginning to capture non-financial and financial data that will help us say, you know what, based on what you're doing and based on the insight, I think you could enhance your business by accessing these funds when you actually need them. So we're actually not only pulling, it's not only just a pull strategy, but also a push strategy. And I think that's what you're going to see. And I think we're even beginning to see that now, but on the consumer side, where banks are offering their customers access to loans without them actually asking for it. It is going to trickle down very soon. And we hope to start that in the small business area. And when that starts happening, you will see a pickup in the right small business behavior. They'll become more inclusive by making sure they pay their taxes, because I am sure very soon making sure that your tax record is going to be one requisite, right, before you can access loans. Today it is not. But if you want to lower your pricing, and for Sparkle, that is also an indication for willingness to pay, not ability. Is that if you don't pay your taxes, right, then what chances are that you're going to pay your loan back? And so those are the things that we're actually going to be looking at and also educating people as to that. So it's a carrot and a stick. If you want lower pricing, do the right thing. If you want to pay higher pricing, go to the bank down the road or pay at the higher cost.
Oh, interesting. So if you refuse to pay government that is stronger and that has more powers,
then who am I?
How am I sure you pay me? Interesting way to look at it. So that's interesting. So Sparkle plans to create a digital platform that will allow SMEs to manage their business in their pockets, and that will then hopefully allow them to be.
It's already available for them right now.
Yeah, it's already available. Excellent. So Sparkle already has done that. That digital platform is available. So Juliet, let me ask you, what is Google doing to help SMEs to also take advantage of digital? And I see we have quite a number of questions. I'll start taking the questions now. But I think just like Sparkle has this digital platform, let me check with Juliet. What is Google doing to help SMEs?
Sure. So for a long time, a key part of our strategy has been supporting different parts of the ecosystem, including the SME space. And we have a number of free services to support capacity building amongst them as SMEs, and also to support them in getting online. So we have a whole platform called Google for Small Businesses, and I'll paste the link on the chat window very shortly. Google for Small Businesses, where you can have a lot of valuable information around even coping with remote working, putting your business online, and making sure that people can find you, getting listed on Google Maps and things like that. So that's available. And then we also have Google for Education for the educational organizations as well. Now, we've also launched a set of economic recovery initiatives, just really aimed at supporting small businesses to be able to accelerate digitally, given all the challenges that we've experienced in the past year with the pandemic, and just helping with talent management, career growth, and working and learning remotely. At the moment, we are targeting 500,000 small businesses to be digitally accelerated by the end of 2021, and 500,000 students learning online by the end of 2021. And this is through these initiatives. We also have a $3 million Google.org funding to organizations that are in the education space, in entrepreneurship, and are doing some work around women empowerment as well. Now, for startups, we have a program called Google for Startups Accelerator, which is really an intensive 3-month mentoring and support program for early stage technology startups. It always gives me a lot of joy to mention the fact that some of the popular success stories we talk about in the space are all graduates of that program. So for example, Paystack, that was acquired for $200 million last year, and Flutterwave that I just mentioned, they were among the first cohorts in that program. And we've had, this program has been running for just over 3 years now, and we've had a number of startups go through that across the continent, but it's hosted in Nigeria. We've also launched an initiative to train 100,000 developers, and this can come from anywhere. They can come from, organizations. They can be developers that are people that are just interested in development. And this is in partnership with Pluralsight and Andela. And it's administered through an Africa Scholarships program, again, for organizations that are trying to go into maybe software development, solutions delivery, SMEs that are operating in this space. This is a really good program to latch onto to support you in building capacity within your teams as well. So these are some of the examples. And I already talked about the digital skills training. We've pivoted since the pandemic to focus on SMBs because of the challenges we know SMEs have had over this period. So just really focused on building capacity amongst SMBs. And I'm going to post some links in the chat window where you can access some of this information and resources. It's all free. And I'll also post, we share a lot of these on social media as well. So I'll post my handle. You can find a lot of information about a number of these. One final category very quickly is content creators. So we've seen YouTube as a great platform for small all businesses, including small, medium businesses, to broadcast themselves, to just really showcase what they're about. And we have a lot of free training for how you can optimize your presence on the platform, build audience, and monetize.
Thanks, Juliet, and thanks for that. And I see that Google is doing a lot to help developers and education institutions and SMEs and co. So let me segue into the Q&A and take a few questions from the Q&A chat. And let me start with Juliet. So we've discussed all these benefits, but what about cybercrime? What about cyber security? What about 419 scams that happens on the internet? So how, and this risk that the SMEs are exposed to when they go digital?
Yeah, so there are a number of risks and risk management techniques. I think definitely you have, with digital platforms, you have some risks that organizations need to be aware of. You have some basic best practices. For example, just really ensuring that your site is encrypted and just your basic HTTPS protocol. That's important. Just ensuring that, where as much as possible, where you're looking at controlled access to platforms, you leverage an extra step. So not just password one, there are basic things like the passwords should be a lot more complicated, not things that people can easily guess, but you can even go beyond that and have things like, two-factor authentication, where you leverage either a hardware token or someone's email address to just have that extra layer of validation that the person trying to log into this platform is who they say they are. And so, and then for a number of products and services, especially the more established ones, there's a huge focus. Certainly for our platforms, we are very big on data privacy and data security, right? And the rules and the guidelines are actually published very clearly and very transparent for everyone to see, so that you really understand, how you can create different levels of access if you want the maximum, security levels, or if you, want a little bit more flexibility, you have the power to be able to update your settings appropriately. So I would say that, it's something that organizations should think about, and just make sure that you are applying those best practices. There's a Cybersecurity Act in Nigeria that is applicable, particularly within certain industries that people should be aware of, and make sure that you are following those guidelines, and just be vigilant, right? Because quite often what we see is it's really the unauthorized access to platforms, unauthorized access to data. That's where a lot of the challenges come from. And then of course you have, things like, viral attacks, etc. So making sure that you have your antivirus up to date as well, and making sure that from an access perspective, you're really controlling in the best possible way access to your various platforms and authentication of your users.
All right, so thanks. I think for me, the lesson there is that as you automate, as you spend on automating, you also should spend and put attention also on providing security, right? So it's the same way if you're building a house. That house is not complete until you put in windows, until you put a fence, and you put those other doors and stuff like that. And so digital does not mean only building the house. It means build the house, but also put the fence, put the windows, put the doors, put a guard, if I can use that word, which is your antivirus, your protections. So thank you, Juliet. Uzoma, a couple of questions, and I think it boils out on affordability, right? So want to do digital, but cost of data is an issue. So how can your operations be available to everybody given the cost of data? That is one. And then second is a direct question on Sparkle, which is what are you doing to protect MSMEs that might be using your platform?
Okay, so, and that's a good question. The first one is a very good question on cost. And sometimes, I think that is where, education is very, very key, because you have two ways of driving your business. It could be the digital way and the non-digital way. And for me, I always say, what is the cost of non-digital business versus the business? So data is a fuel, right? So like when I look at it from the perspective that, if I'm digital, I'm going to spend more on data and less on, for example, if I get my processes right, moving around, mobility, fuel, I'm going to spend less on, on labor. And so there is a cost for data, and there's nothing you can do about it, but I know that it is a better alternative. I also do know that the cost of data has been going down gradually over the years. So if you look at how much it was 5 years ago, and today it's actually dropped, even despite inflation and even the valuation of the naira. And so as we become more digital, you're beginning to see a lot of entrance into this data provision space. So we will see data drop. We will see the cost of smartphones are dropping. And I also believe that when, as a nation, and this is why you need collaboration from all aspects of government of the country. When we now see digital as necessary infrastructure, so just like government has a role to play in building roads and also making sure that people their population are digitally enabled, then that's where you see that competitive. So I believe that is something that is going to come up. So from a cost perspective, I believe that data is a cost that's coming down, but it's a necessity for being digital, but it is a better fuel than the alternative. And secondly, the question of protecting your funds, just like any bank, we are actually regulated by NDIC, so everybody's funds and deposits are protected. I think that was the question I was asked.
So that was just really so I guess there is a capital protection, but also are there technology tools you are making available to protect MSMEs on your platform?
So I think one of the great things about digital is, first of all, just access to information and then authentication. The fact that first of all that you have your business in your hand and you're using a mobile phone, that first of all you have a password, and to enter to do transaction you have a rather code is one. Secondly, there's our fraud detection platform that is also looking at how people are doing transactions. So if for example, a customer is doing a transaction in a location that is not paying you before, that transaction is flagged, it might be blocked as well. So there are tools that, because cybercrime is real, and the cyber criminals are getting sharper, and also the fraud detection tools, and also we have to make sure that we're continuously updating our systems to understand, and it goes back to understanding who your customers are, understanding how people perpetrate accounts, and understanding things that are not normal, and make and preventing it, but not trying to prevent it, but not disrupting our customers' business. Because sometimes somebody wants to send money and it is declined because it's suspicious. But how do you do that without actually disrupting the customer's business? So there's that protection from a cybercrime perspective, but it is also how you design it to ensure that it does not hamper our customer experience. But those are things that, because we are very customer centric, we just want very customer centric. Technology is great, but how you use technology to help your customer is very, very key, and that goes into the design and understanding your customer. And that's one thing that we are investing a lot of resources in.
Excellent. So we should all treat data as a cost, but also we know there are other benefits and ways where we can save costs. And secondly,
if you do data as an investment, not a cost.
As an investment, sorry, as an investment. As an investment that will yield a return, and the return, exactly. You're right. Thanks for that.
Exactly.
And the returns will be reduce paper wastage, reduce use of cash, reduce transportation, etc. So, and to do that, we also need to treat digital as a critical infrastructure.
Exactly.
Right. Today we break fiber dots, and we burn down towers, and we ask for money from tower companies, etc. So we need to treat our digital infrastructure. And thirdly, is that businesses like Sparkle and Co. also have fraud detection systems that they've put in place, and they're also taking the extra steps to design those systems in a way that it will still support excellent customer service delivery. So thank you for that, Uzoma. Juliet, a few questions, and these are practical questions. All right, so I'm a washerman. I'm the woman that sells fish in Ekwe. I have a laundry shop. I'm that small trader. How can I use digital?
So the good thing about digital is that you can start from the very basics all the way through to very advanced systems. So if you're the examples I shared earlier, if you're a service provider, maybe you are the example you gave, I think you said, did you say a plumber or an electrician or a fitness instructor, the example I gave, you can actually expose more and more people are going online to look for those services, right? So the basic thing is just make it possible for people to find you. That's the purpose of every business. You want to make sure that people can find you. The way that they can find you offline, if we start embracing that digital mindset, we need to ensure that people can find us online as well. And this doesn't need to be an expensive venture. There are, you can leverage social media platforms, for example, and a host of other platforms to just get your presence online. You can, ensure that on Google Maps, people can, search and find you, right? So different free platforms that you can use to just make sure that you're present. Then you may have the objective of, being transactional. You actually have goods and services that you want people to be able to purchase. Then you may be thinking about using platforms. Again, you don't have to build yours from scratch. Yeah, you can leverage platforms that allow you to expose your goods and services in that way. There are social media platforms that make it possible for you to do that. There are e-commerce platforms that also embrace merchants, where you can also exhibit your products and services. If you want to have your own online shop and you need people to be able to make payments, there are payment providers that you can integrate with. So I think it's just really, looking at the basics. And there was a question here relating to your question. There was a question on the chat about someone saying that I am a script writer, right? And how do I get my scripts to producers and directors? Now, there's a quick story I'd like to share, and I like sharing local stories because it makes everything we're talking about very practical. Now, there was a small business owner that needed to write a business plan. She had never done it before. And she went online and was able to find business plan templates. Now, there's hardly anything you're trying to do. You're trying to do a product launch plan. You're trying to do your go-to-market strategy. You'll find either a how-to guide or a template online. Now, she got that, did her business plan. Now, what she was doing was using Ankara to create bags, right? And she also wanted to, she didn't know how to sketch online. So she saw videos on YouTube that helped her to sketch those bags online. And she decided, I want to spread the word, but I don't know who, what channel. She looked online for bloggers, leading bloggers across the continent. And she got a whole list of great blog sites and online publishers. She sent her designs to them. Again, you can imagine, so far, everything I'm talking about is free. You know, she sent her designs to all of them. Well, a number of them, quite a lot of them, and a percentage of them actually liked the designs and published her stuff on their blogs. And then she started to get people expressing interest in her bags. Right now, she's a successful business owner. She actually, a few years ago, she won the Richard Branson Award for Entrepreneurs, right? So she successfully grew her business by just leveraging these tools that are available. So start from where you are. If you want to go, you know, it's one step after the other, but start from where you are. Look at, what do I have to offer right now? What's available to me? And then also look at other businesses of people like you and what they are doing online. You may be able to also learn, right, from the innovation that is out there. And so that would be my basic answer to that question. It's very practical, and it's just really, you know, a methodical approach and using what's available, and then you build on top of that and so on. And once you see the results, you yourself will be a lot more motivated to do more.
Okay, all right, thank you. My network dropped for a few moments. I think it's been an interesting session. We've understood how digital can be used even by the fish seller who can use it. You can use Instagram to do marketing. You can use Google Maps to show where you are. And you can use digital to accept payments, to raise invoices, etc. So it's fine. So let me give each of the panelists just 1 minute. I'm conscious we have just 4 minutes left in terms of your final words. So Juliet, 1 minute, your final words.
I'll say that right now we've moved from an area where we're trying to encourage people to embrace digital, etc. Yes, it's the digital age, but the pandemic has even accelerated that. Now it's a must-have. It's critical for survival. We were talking about risk management earlier. If you consider the risk of actually being out of business, which, you know, there was a shock to the system that a lot of us experienced at the start of last year with the pandemic. So even to ensure business continuity and survival, it's important to embrace digital. And it doesn't have to be something scary. There are so many tools that can help you build your own capacity. So my invitation to businesses is actually, you know, get into the bandwagon, jump on the train, and see how you can start to really leverage digital for business growth and transformation.
All right, thanks. So Uzoma, your final words.
My final word is going to be life is made of decisions. You take decisions, whether it's spending money, whether it's taking a decision to do anything, whether it's work, play, or your business. And that is based on information, and that information is based on data. Now, if you want to continue to make right decisions, you need relevant data. And digital is the only way today that we know that allows you to efficiently collect data. So why digital? Because you will get better data, you can generate better information to take better decisions, to live a better life, or grow your business, or sustain your business more successfully. That's my 1 minute.
Thank you. Life is about decisions you take. Decisions are based on information that you have, and digital allows you to have access to information quickly, timely, in an accurate manner. I mean, there can be no other way to end this session.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Zoman. Thank you, Juliet. That's been wonderful.
You.
So let me hand over to Dr. Pola and Becky for the closing remarks.
Thank you. Dr. Pola, sir.
Thank you very much. I think it's been an interesting morning. For all of our participants who have joined us today, I think you've taken one or two things away from the conversation that we had from the best in the industry when it comes to digitalization this morning. And I'm talking about Nii Yusuf, Juliet, and Uzoma. To round up from here, I said at the beginning when I did introduction and welcome remarks that this is the first time we were talking about something that's not directly finance, that touched on small businesses and not talking about access to credit and all of that. And I'm very happy with the kind of conversation and the kind of expose we have received from our speakers this morning. For us at CRC, digitalization has been part and parcel of what we have to embrace to be able to deliver services to our customers. But in the last 1 year, I think I just need to summarize that we've developed a lot of, we developed APIs that enable our customers now to really, have access to the database and also to submit data at any time. So you don't need to get to end of the month before you submit data. You can actually submit your data every month and every time. We also develop, digital device that enable you to update the record of your customers right from your own office or wherever you are at your own time. That's what we call the data management module called DMM. That's for our institutions. I mean, for you and me who are individuals, normally we encourage every Nigerian to have access to their credit report because you don't need to wait until you want to get a loan before you now begin to look for what your credit status look like, what your credit scores look like. And normally in the past, people used to go to our website to do that. You still can do that now. Go to our website and go through a section that's called I want my report, and then fill on your form and pay for it, and you get it. Then you know what? We have made life much more simpler by the device, your telephone. From your telephone, you can download CRC mobile app. You can download your CRC mobile app, and that can enable you to get access to the same credit report or to your credit score. Download can be whether it's Android powered or whichever way, either iOS or Android powered. Once you have a device, a telephone device that can get you to use data, you can always do that. And I want to encourage all of you to do that. I also want to encourage all our institutions who are on this platform to migrate from web-based to API connection. That way you automate the entire process of having access to our database and also submitting data to our repository. And that's the best way to go. That's the whole essence of the conversation we are having today. I believe that most of the small businesses that are here today will have benefited from all that have been discussed today. Finally, we have an education center called CRC Financial Education Center. And since March last year, the entire training programs we have been through virtual. So again, part of digitalization that we spoke about this morning. So you go to our website, you can see all various training programs that we have, and you can leverage on that. You don't need to leave your office. You don't need to travel to Lagos or to anywhere. You can do that through online training programs that all those training programs are now facilitated through online devices. So thank you very much once again. It's not my duty to do vote of thanks, but I'm really happy to have the best in the industry that have joined us this morning. I'll leave the floor now for Peg to just do the vote of thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Popola. On behalf of the Board of Directors and Management of CRC Credit Bureau, we thank Mr. Nii Yusuf, our keynote speaker and moderator, for his wonderful presentation, deep diving into the essence of this webinar. We also thank our distinguished panel speakers, Mr. Hekman and Mr. Dossier, for sharing with us their wealth of experience, knowledge, and exemplary contributions to building capacity in this space. The success stories shared demonstrated practical examples of how indigenous businesses have achieved mileage embracing digitalization. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this session. And also thank you for your valuable contributions. They have contributed immensely to the success of this webinar. We cannot forget Dr. Kupola. Thank you very much, sir, for hosting all our webinar series. Your support is immeasurable. I would also at this point like to thank the organizers of this webinar, Jalilat, Toby, Ebo, Razak, and Diola. Thank you so much for putting together this wonderful webinar. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to welcoming you at our next webinar. Good afternoon, and do have a pleasant day.